Happy Friday. Good to see you all. Can y'all hear me okay? Just make sure that you guys can hear me. Give me a 5 by 5. We always have this delay, so I don't want to start talking too much until everybody can hear me. We hear you. Thank you, Sassy Gal. Thank you, Apartment Prepper. All right. I'm going to say hi to a few of you guys on here real quick. Hi, Nate. Good to see you. Hi, Sassy Gal. Hi, Vancity. Hi there, Cold War Prepper. Karen, good to see you. Who else am I missing? Hi, Linda. Hi, Jacqueline J. Looks like I got, hi, Linda's Prepper Kitchen. Good to see you. Looks like I got pretty much everybody on here. Oh, I missed Bitter Critter. Hi, Bitter Critter. Hi, Mrs. Dog. So good to see you.
Who's that?
I'm not sure. Who is that? Hi, Bougie. Good to see you. Hi, B. Bacala. Alrighty, so we're going to get on here and just start talking for a second. So the first thing that I want to do is give a warm welcome to Prepper Dog. He has joined us tonight, and then Prepper Now will be here shortly. He's going to be just a few minutes behind because he's still tucking his kids in for the night. So he will be here probably about 8:15, 8:30, sometime in that range. And then I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. I want to make sure that everybody knows what I expect. I expect us all to remain civil and respectful, no name calling or anything like that. We can have differing opinions. I do allow that. That's fine, but we need to do it in a respectful manner. And I will give you one opportunity to redeem yourself. But if you continue to act that way, then you are going to get the boot by one of my mods. And I will open up the discussion at the end with some Q&A. That's kind of how I've been structuring these. So if I don't see your question, just make sure you throw it in all caps so I can grab that, because things do fly by in the chat and it's hard to keep up with that and what we're doing here on the channel. So with all of that said, Prepper Dog, would you please take a moment to introduce yourself to those that may not know who you are?
Hello, everybody. I'm just glad to be here. I appreciate you having me tonight. And again, I'm Prepper Dog, and people sometimes are confused with the name, like, what's the deal with the DAWG? And it's because, as you see behind me, I'm a big Georgia Bulldog fan. I went to the University of Georgia, graduated there a long time ago, back in the Stone Age. And so that's the nickname. It's dogs, and then we bulldogs, and then we will spell it DAWG, a lot of times. So anyway, that's how I came up with the name. I started my channel about a year and a half ago, maybe, and it's been a ride. I've really enjoyed it. I really enjoy doing the videos. From a Christian perspective, of course, a lot of things, preparedness, prepping. It's very informal. I don't edit. I don't, I'm not a super professional speaker or anything like that. So it's kind of conversational almost, the way I do my videos. So a lot of current events, some history as well. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so I know that Prepper Now is going to be a little bit late, and I don't want to get into this too far. But we will go ahead and, I guess, open up with the initial question, and then hopefully he will join us in enough time that I can toss him the question as well. So the first one I wanted to start off with is, do you think there was a point in history where we started witnessing a decline in America?
That's a good question. I would say as a point in American history.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard different opinions on that. I would say, especially in my lifetime, I guess, from my perspective, I would say around 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Only because, and there's a lot of other opinions, I'm sure that would be different, maybe even further back or way further back than that. But 2000 is when, we had the, I believe it was Bush against was it Gore, I believe, and the presidential election, and it was hotly contested. It's when I remember the the country starting to be so polarized
Right.
politically, and starting to get at each other's throats, and it was a really tough, a hard fought election. I believe the Supreme Court got involved in deciding that one, and it was just really, um, really divisive, from what I remember. And I remember my dad making a comment one evening, and when I was sitting with him, and he said, political correctness is going to be the downfall of this
Yes.
country. It's going to ruin it. And at the time, I'm like, that's a little extreme. I don't, where did that come from?
Right.
And because he doesn't usually say stuff like that too much, he just came out with it, and I'm like, and and at the time, I just didn't really think a lot about it. I remember, but it does stick. It does stick in my
Yeah,
brain.
mine now.
And so over the years, I've thought about that, and I think that's one of the turning points, I believe, as far as just from my experience. But
Hmm.
some people would argue back in the 60s or 70s as well, as when things have changed a lot.
That's kind of
There's a
where I
good
was
argument.
going. Yeah.
There's a good argument for that back in the 60s with the progressive movements, and that's also could be one of them as well. So.
Right. I noticed a lot of people in the chat throwing in their comments there too, what they mentioned. Cold War Prepper said 1968 Tet offensive. Sassy Gal says she would say 9/11. Hearing
Oh,
JFK, mid to late 60s, the 60s. Yeah, a lot of people are saying the 60s. Now, what I kind of thought is I just kind of went through and listed some things that I think that happened in the 70s that kind of started heading us in that direction. So you had Roe versus Wade in 73. You had the cultural decline with the rise of the LGBT community. You had the 1973 oil crisis,
yeah,
in which the U.S. was placed under an oil embargo by Saudi Arabia. You had the 1973 and 1974 stock market crash due to the collapse of the Bretton Woods system, where they were, converting the U.S. They terminated the convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold, and then we kind of came off of that gold standard, and I think that definitely started heading us in this direction that we're in now. And then you also had the 79 trade agreement between the US and China, and we kind of know where that has led us, right? Where we quit making our own goods and outsourced everything. So I feel like, those are some points in that direction as well. So
absolutely. It's a lot of things. I mean, it's
mm-hmm.
hard to pin just one thing, as far as the change or decline, but it's a combination, just like,
Well, Pepper
oh,
now says he didn't get the link. So let me see if I can get in here and get that link for him. I wonder, let me see if I can grab it again, and I will try to send him an email real quick. Sorry.
but
I know I sent it to you, but maybe you lost the email. I'm going to get into my email real quick, and we will see if I can. Hopefully I don't grab my personal email or something, and then everybody's on here looking at my email address while I'm trying to get it. Oh, that would not be good. I
but
could
yeah,
see myself doing that.
just like a lot of other empires or world powers, it's usually a combination of things that starts a decline, and it usually happens over a long period of time. So I think that's what we're in the middle of.
Right.
I really do.
Of course.
9/11 is a good point too. I don't think we've been the same since 9/11.
I agree. That's a great point.
That's a big one. What do you
Does
think?
anybody else have anything in the chat that you guys want to add to that? Sorry, I'm just trying to get in here and fix this real quick. Of course, I put in my password wrong because this is what I do. It's the pressure. I'm feeling the pressure.
You're fine. You're fine.
Okay, Prepper Now, it's on its way. So hopefully, with any luck, the internet will speed it along for us since we still have that right now. Yeah, curveball. Good point.
Yeah. It's been different. I don't know about y'all, but it seems like the internet is it's
Slower?
been slower,
It's been really
both
slow.
at home and for work as well.
Mhm.
I've had to use my little the hotspot thing a lot more often for work because we do a lot of our documenting out in the field, away from the office. So even in the office, I've had to use it because our internet is
It just seems spottier too,
spotty.
doesn't it?
It's very
Yeah, it's
spotty.
like it just kind of fades in and out sometimes, and I just really don't have good connection. So
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not the only one noticing that.
or it's just slow. You know,
Have you guys noticed that too? Cold War Prepper just said his entire contact list on his phone disappeared today.
wow.
That is really odd.
Now, I had a weird thing happen this evening after work. I ordered um, some takeout. Same place, always do it. I do it online. I do it through their website,
Hmm.
and I pay with a card. Never had a problem. Been doing it for years. Today, I did it when I got off work, and I went over there. I paid for it and everything online. Okay, drove over there, pick it up, and they were like, "We don't have the order. It never went through.
Oh my
It
goodness.
never went through." Now, it didn't take it out of the bank, at least not yet. And they went ahead and, of
Oh
course,
my
fixed it up
goodness.
for me. But that's the first time that's ever
No, it didn't
happened.
take
So,
it out of the bank, at least not yet. And they went ahead and, of course, fixed it up for me. But that's the
Hi,
first
Pepper
time that's
now.
ever happened. It didn't take it out of
Hey,
the
what's
bank,
up,
at least
everybody?
not yet.
hello,
They went
Hey, what's
ahead and,
going
of
on?
course, fixed it up for me.
How you doing, Prepper Dog?
I'm good. How you been?
Good. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing, Prepper Dog?
I'm good. How you been?
Good. All right, I'm on a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I hear it.
Is it picking it up from your phone or something? I don't
I
know.
turned it off, actually.
Oh, did you? Is it picking it up from your phone? It could be. Do you
turned it
have
off,
the
actually.
YouTube
Let me
tab
try
up
this.
in the corner as well? If you close that one and just leave up StreamYard, then it'll go away. Do you have the YouTube tab up in the corner as well? If you close that one and just leave up StreamYard, then it'll go away. Do you have the YouTube tab up in the corner as well? If you close that one and just leave up StreamYard, then it'll go away.
All right, how's that?
I don't hear it
That
now.
did it.
I think
Okay, I think I got it.
I think you did it. You got it. Okay, so what would be your answer to the question that we were talking about? Do you think there was a point in history where we started witnessing a decline?
Oh, absolutely. I think most of it really kind of started going on in the 20th century. You had the great revival and everything of people getting back into their faith in the late 19th century, and then it kind of carried over into the early 20th century, and then things started to kind of morally decline from there. You had your world wars and the Spanish flu and the Great Depression, and then I think people started to get a little bit more crafty and going along to get along, or just trying to do whatever they could to kind of get by, and the moral structure started to go away. And then over time there's been an erosion of Western morality, as it pertains to like things like the Ten Commandments and Christian values and such. So I do think that it's just really sped up over the last 50 years, I think. I noticed it, of course, having kids and in the school system and everything. Like I'm reading this thing on England, and they're talking about changing all the school system there. And the school system over there, they've got it where everything has to become this thing called an academy. And if it becomes an academy, then you can't do religious schools, you can't do, and everything's basically owned by the state. And I think in the last 50 years, what's going on is you've got the government really doing its best job to push everything to where the state is the functionary and the driving force behind everything, replacing religion, replacing the family, replacing everything. And it just, when that becomes the center of stuff, government can take us into really wild sections of morality and life.
Exactly. Awesome point. Did you want to go ahead and introduce your channel to everyone in case there's those of us?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm prepared this now. I am Prepper now. That's my name that I started. It's funny. I saw a video from when I first started when I showed my face. and right now my channel on the other one, it is basically in a holding pattern. If anything happens to it, it will be lost. And so with 16,000 plus subscribers, I just kind of came over here. It's my backup channel, and I just been relying on here. And here, sometime in the very early fall, late summer, I should be able to get back into the swing of things on Prepper Now. So I thought, you know what, instead of risking it, I'll just kind of lay that one fallow, come over here, build this one up as much as they'll let me, and just kind of focus on this. So, Prepper Now has been around for a couple years now, and it's been awesome. YouTube's been great. I've watched both of you guys grow. It's a great community, but it's just it's we're in strange times. In June of 2020, I said, you know what, I'm seeing a lot of political issues out there, and I don't want to put my family at risk. And so I think I'm going to kind of go and do a little bit more incognito. I talked to my wife. I was like, I want to talk. And she said, well, just don't show your face. And I said, okay, I'll just do that. But, it's interesting to see, like today, or I'm not sure if today or yesterday, Dr. Simone Gold was handed 60 days in jail for basically speaking on the rotunda at a political rally, doing a political speech. There's absolutely nothing wrong that she was doing. She was voicing her opinion as codified in our Bill of Rights, and now she's going to jail for 60 days. We just live in a very different environment, and thank God I kind of recognized it. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to go incognito, and here we are. And where we go from here, I honestly can't tell you, but it's not looking good.
Yeah,
So,
you may be one of the smartest ones of us out there. The rest of us are probably on the chopping block.
Oh my gosh, I want to show my. I hate it. I want to show my face. I feel like bad, but whatever.
You have to protect yourself and your family first.
That's the truth.
I think everybody does understand that.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question for you guys is, what do you think some of the greatest issues are that we're currently facing in America?
I'll let the dog go first.
Gosh, there's so many. I believe that there is I think religion is the big, I think such a, we were talking about this before we came on, before we came on live, is that just civility and the way we're treating each other, and just conversations, and just having being able to agree, being able to disagree with somebody civilly, and the ability to say that I disagree with you without you being the enemy, or me being or having to attack each other. We used to be able to do that, but it's like we can't do that anymore. And so I think civility, I think it's just the social fabric. It seems like it's just breaking all the way down, into nothing, and just a fight at the drop of a hat and tear each other apart. And I think we're so divided, we're so polarized, almost 50-50 in this country. And I think that's a big one for me. The biggest thing that I'm worried about right now is, or one of the biggest things I'm worried about right now, is the integrity of elections. I mean, if that, I think we'll get to a point where if the people lose faith in that, and believe that they're just wasting their time going in and doing that, I mean, that's like the last institution. It's the last institution that keeps us from fighting each other in the streets. Okay. Because the way it used to be, you can disagree about things till the cows come home, but you went and voted, and whoever won, you won. And okay, you took your toys and went home. Okay, all right, we'll vote next time. We'll get it next time, and then it'll swing the other way. You have a bad administration, the people realize it. The pendulum swings the other way, and we bring in a different administration from the other side, and things kind of stabilize. And that's just how the way we've been going for a while, and able to keep it afloat. But we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But hold on tight.
Agree.
I agree with the dog. I mean, I literally this is what I teach for a living. I'm American government, psychology, sociology, and media. And, to sit there and I'll be teaching students, I'll be like, all right, this is how it works. This is popular sovereignty. And these are the principles of government and yada, yada, yada. And, after, everything is kind of been going on, it is frightening. And I think there is a real push by the master class holes, as I lovingly call them, that
I love
are
it.
literally hoping that like we do lose faith in our voting. And the reason why is because that has happened in other countries. Other countries have lost faith in their voting, and the result is not good. And so, and I was really jaded for about a year after, and because I'm I've got a political science degree, and I know things. Not that I know things. I can read the tea leaves because I was kind of trained in it, and I can tell you from watching the polls and looking at things, and I won't just like look at a poll. I'll go in and I'll read the sample size, like, all right, how many Democrats, how many independents, what age women, all this stuff, and kind of get under the covers. And there was just a lot of things that went on that are of concern and that are going on. I don't want to get too specific for obvious reasons, but I think the only way we're going to do this is to I'm from the Midwest originally, and where I'm from, they still have Grandma McGillicuddy in the background with her little blue hair nun, or nuns in the back, and they're like a freaking machine, systematically doing paper ballots, stamping and clamping and passing on to Genevieve, and then to Evelyn, and then to Helen on down the row. And it is the most precise and safe way to vote possible. When you get into things that have the potential for manipulation, it's a problem, and so I don't know. I don't have any cure all, but I can tell you that if we don't get things moving in the right direction, it really will spiral out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I agree. I mean, for me, I guess what I've just been really concerned about lately is just like you guys were saying, it's almost like I'm seeing this complacency in the conservatives and in the Christians where we've almost disappeared into a corner. And because we don't believe that there is any integrity left in the elections and other things. And I'm just concerned that if we don't start stepping up, if we don't start pushing back, if we let them make us believe that we don't have a voice any longer, then we are going to be losing. We have to do something. We have to go ahead and push through this and at least try. And that's kind of where I was, with the whole WHO thing and bringing that stuff to light, because I felt like a lot of people were thinking it wouldn't do any good to go ahead and submit your comments. But we did actually see a situation where they were pushed back. And that's because the people stood up and said enough is enough. And we've got to get to that point again in our country where we're doing the same thing. We can't just shut up and sit down in a corner and eat crow. So
That's a good point.
It's an excellent point.
Great point. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you at this point, like we've tried to go along to get along, and that's
Exactly.
obviously not working. And you can do things like you were saying with the comment system. You can do things to make it so change happens. I think local is a great place to start. If you get those city aldermen, council, mayor, whatever, state senators, and they think that their job might be on the line, they're going to change some stuff. And there's a lot of things that really happen on the local level. What goes down in DC is gonna happen in DC. I'm right down the road from them, and I couldn't explain them to you if I tried. But what goes on, Mama's home. What goes on in the state capitals and local city councils and stuff, you can have some good effects. You can affect things like what goes on your face when you're out in public, or what's going on in your public school system. So I think that's a big start. I think we get too overwhelmed with the totality of things, and we're sitting there worried about these big grand ideas, and when really we can affect a lot of change if we just do things from the local level. So,
It's true. Local is the key.
I agree. So another question I have for you guys is, do you think that people are just going to keep absorbing all of these costs, or do you think there is going to be a breaking point where we're going to start seeing riots in the streets over the food and gasoline?
I've got to be a breaking point. I mean, the question is, what is it going to be? You know, I would have thought you'd. I mean, you have people paying out in California and some other parts of the country well over five in a gallon. I mean, I think they're like what, 6, $7 dollars a gallon right now. I mean, and they're just people are just paying it and going. So what is that point to where people are like, we're just going to start tearing stuff up? I'm not saying you should do that, but
Right.
um, it's going to happen at some point. And the food, is, I think what you're going to see, that's going to keep going up. Regardless of what happened with the interest rate or whatever, it's going to keep going up. I believe, and so I think you're going to start seeing a lot more theft, a lot more crime waves. They're going to get more emboldened, brazen, and violent, and I think that's when you're going to see riots. And you can see people going in and ransacking. You could have grocery stores getting hit hard, and then somebody's going to try to do something about it, and prevent that, and then you could have it all break loose in certain.
Right.
The question is, at what point? I mean, what is that? What is that point where it happens? The tipping point.
I think hunger is a heck of a motivator, and people, you said a key thing with like crime and people doing things that can, just crime going up and doing things that they have to do to, someone, I could tell you right now, if my child needed a medicine and I had no way to pay for it, I would probably, unfortunately, result to crime, because it's not about me, but people are going to have those kind of choices that they're going to have to make, and they're not going to be good. Now, of course, I don't live that way, and we're very fiscally prudent, so we're about as solid as the next. So hopefully, nothing ever will get that way. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see over the next 6 months. A lot of people are saying that around the 4th of July, it's going to really begin, and by the fall, it's going to get nasty. And every time I say that too, I sit there and I'm like, yeah, I'd steal medicine for my kid, but then I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Right.
It's just such a, you know what I mean? Like I'll say
I
that
understand.
because it's my kid, and I literally would do just about anything, within
Sure.
reason. But at the same time, there's like morals and stuff, and I don't know. And that's the thing, is that you don't know how far people are going to get pushed. And if they're not able to put gas in the car or go down and get food, or they're making choices like keeping the heat on, or getting a week's worth of groceries, those questions are going to be coming up, and it's going to be a problem. And from there, it really will break out. So
Right.
Well, that's like, we're prepared, and a lot of us in the community are prepared for this stuff, but so many, like such a high percentage of the population is nowhere near prepared. Even now, they don't think it's going to happen, and when they should be seeing it now, of course, when they're going to buy food and gas, but they're not ready. They don't have stuff put back, and they don't have anything saved or anything, so they're gonna get desperate, and they're gonna try to feed the children whatever the way they can, and themselves.
And I think a lot of that is because they still believe in their core that the government is going to bail them out, and maybe they'll get some more stimulus checks or something else like that will be sent their way, and they'll receive a bailout because that's what's happened in the past. So why wouldn't it happen again? Right?
Sure.
So if that kind of civil unrest were to occur, what do you think the government's response would be?
Self-protection.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll come out and try and play savior and bring on, like, water and all that, but it'll be just so minimal and minuscule that, honestly, it'll probably be cause more problems than it's worth, and that's the problem. And so I don't know. A lot of these problems have happened because of poor policy making. I've said that in my videos, and to sit there and sit back and be like, okay, well, now they're going to play savior too. I mean, I'm obviously, I'm very critical of government, because I know what they're supposed to look like, and if they're doing bad things and then they come in, Hegelian dialectic, that they're the savior, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be standing in line. That's why I'd rather put another 50 pounds of rice away in my basement than sit there and go, I'll wait in line with the other fools hoping that they're going to feed me.
Yeah, I think their response would be very underwhelming. I really do. I think you'd be surprised. I think people will be shocked at how little of a response it will be. A lot of people will say they're going to do martial law on the whole country. No, it's not possible.
I don't think they have the
I mean,
ability to do it in the whole country.
they
No,
barely have
they
the
don't.
ability
But
to
they
do
would
it.
focus on cities, I think. I mean, don't you guys kind
They
of think they
might.
would try to
Yes.
do something
Yeah.
to quell the
The
cities?
larger centers, yeah.
So I've kind of gamed this out, and I want to talk. I think this is an
Yeah,
excellent
let's
point.
talk
But
about
because I think
Go
there's a
for it.
lot of people that have misconceptions.
Mhm.
There is no logistical way that they could do a full-on, like across the board, across the country, martial law. It's not possible. So what they would have to do is just set up contact points and focus on the cities, because the country folk, they're, I'll go down to the local farmer and get the sweet potatoes and go over, and I've got a dairy, 2 meat farmers, or like 5 different vegetable stands. I'm going to be okay. We chose this area for a reason. But the people that are sitting in in the cities that aren't smart, like Angry Prepper, or another of some of our urban preppers, they're going to really be under control, and they're not going to be able to get things, and it will be standing in line, and it will be QR codes, and it will be be up to date on everything and that kind of stuff. If it gets there, I don't know if it will. I personally think that it's just at this point, I think this. I think that they're just we are in decline, and the people that are in the seats of power understand this, and they're taking everything off the mantles and off the walls and trying to stuff it down their pants and get out before the whole thing burns down. I really believe that. I don't
I have
think
to agree. I agree.
I
Totally.
yeah,
Possibility.
I don't think that they have the logistics. I don't think they have the intelligence to go
No.
and just go full on lock. And so I think that right now they're just strip mining everything, and they're gonna and just whatever happens. And from there, I think it'll just kind of devolve into more of a regional kind of breakdown. Kind of like, I see a lot of similarities to the breakdown of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah. Yeah, it
Mhm.
would just become local.
Yeah.
Because I have to agree totally what you just said. I think they're just preparing themselves, and
Yeah.
their families at this point, because they know what's in process here, and there's so much corruption throughout. It's systemic that, and probably a lot worse than we can even imagine. In just about every agency and every department. There's some good people in those, I'm sure, but as a whole, no. It's just rotten, and it looks shiny from the outside still, maybe a little bit, but inside it's just nothing. I think.
Prettiest horse in the glue factory.
I love that.
Oh man.
Exactly. Scary.
Hey, I got to tap out for about 10, 15 minutes and have dinner with my wife. She got caught in
Go for
traffic.
it.
So I was like, let me jump on before she gets home, and then I'll
Sure.
force her to like take care of the kids and stuff, and then come back and be a crappy husband and talk to you guys, which I actually do like. I know. Hopefully she's smiling. You smiling right now? Okay, she's smiling. That's good. She's got you met her. She's got a good sense of humor. So.
She is. She's a great gal.
Yeah, she is. I'm lucky. So
You are.
all right, I will tap back in here in about 10, 15 minutes. Okay.
Okay,
Sounds
sounds
good.
good.
Awesome.
All right. So with that, for me, I mean, I think it's almost a question of, are we going to see them use the carrot, or are they going to use the stick, right? And we're so used to them using the carrot in our country. And so I almost think that they will probably try to enact some form of a UBI or something like that to kind of calm things down and quell the panic initially, right? So if we're not into a full-on collapse and they haven't bled us dry quite yet, I think that might be something that they attempt to do, at least initially.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, especially if they see the writing on the wall that is about to just break loose and go spiral totally out of control. I could see them doing that just to calm it down, or attempt to calm it down. Maybe I don't know, but I mean, can you imagine the amount of money they have to print to do that? I mean, how do
I
you
know, right? I mean,
even
how
do
do
it?
they do that?
I
But
mean,
at
and
this point, they're on a money printing spree anyway, and they
they
don't
are.
seem to care that we're over $30 trillion in debt. And it's still climbing at an exponential rate. And it doesn't seem to be on their radar at all. It's almost as though we can just pull money out of thin air for everyone for the rest of everyone's existence, right?
Exactly. And it sounds good at first when you hear that, universal basic income. Okay, I'm going to get um, whatever X amount of dollars a month.
Mhm.
Well, that sounds great, but I'm sure strings come with that.
Oh, of
You'd
course.
be losing some control there. You're giving up control, freedoms. But then again, also, how are things going to get done as well? I mean, how are the roads going to keep getting worked on? The bridges, the um, other critical infrastructure, your water treatment. Somebody going to come fix the air conditioner when it breaks at your home or your apartment complex?
Right.
The fixing your car. There's so many questions as far as not everybody can just stop. Medical care. All these things. Are a big question then. So, but I do think that I could see them trying that at least.
So, do you think that an economic collapse is going to take place, and what do you think that might look like if it were?
That's because that is not my big strong suit as far as
It's not
economic.
mine either. Trust me. I'm just more looking for an
but
opinion, not
but
necessarily a
yeah,
fact.
as far as there going to be a collapse, it's hard to. I don't really know. I don't. I think I think the inflation. I think it's just going to keep going up. I think prices are going to keep going up. It might slow a little bit, but it's just going to keep going. It's just going to keep doing it. But as far as a total collapse, I'm not sure what it would even look like. I really don't.
I don't think any of us know exactly what
I
it would
think
look like.
exactly. I think it's a big unknown. I think it could be something that we totally don't expect.
Right.
Um, but yeah.
I think for me, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately is just, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing some of these businesses and even larger businesses go under, because they're not going to be able to continue to absorb all of these extra costs, with transportation, the fuel prices, the supply chain breakdowns. And once we start seeing these large companies start to take a hit and go under, and then that unemployment rate takes off, because they're not going to be able to we won't have all these employees that have jobs, then we're going to start getting into a world of hurt, I feel like, at that point. So to me, that's kind of what I think of when I think of the Great Depression, was just all these people that didn't have employment, that couldn't feed their families, that couldn't keep roofs over their heads at that point. And it was just a situation where we had such a giant collapse in the entire system, where all these companies went under. So to me, that's what I'm worried about.
I think that's very possible. Like you said, these companies, they have these costs. The costs are increasing for them, just like us, and
Mhm.
they're going to start thinning it out. You've already hearing of layoffs coming, and I think that's the next big thing you could see over the next year and a half, is a lot of unemployment, a lot of layoffs, and you could see, the modern day soup lines. I mean, I'm out there in the community a lot, and people are hurting right now. And you see a lot of the food banks are struggling. I know in my area they are, and a lot of people just need the basics. And the lines are long even now at these places that I see. I can't imagine. If things keep going the way they are another year, even 6 months from now.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, do you think that there would ever be a possibility of a civil conflict that we saw in this nation? And if we did see one, kind of, who might the players be? What might that look like?
I've thought about that a lot, and I can't really. It's hard for me to visualize what that would really look like, because we're all so spread out, and it's not like one side of the the argument or the right lives in one place, and it's not like a geographic like it was in
Right.
the original first Civil War. Um, so I'm not sure what that looks like, other than just random, massively increased crime against one another, and just random places, and just to where it gets out of control, to where I think you could see certain areas of the country um, be no-go zones, or be totally without rule of law, to where the cops or even the military does not go in there, and they just become under the control of whoever the strongest person or group is with the most guns. I think you could actually see that it could look like that.
That makes a lot of sense.
The government could decide where they want to actually put their resources, and do some form of martial law, and maybe some key cities or something, just to hold those together. But there's no way, like we said earlier, that they can cast a net of control physically over everything, over all the entire country. We're so spread out, unless they use technology somehow to
Right.
restrict control over our finances or something, or something some that way. But people still act on that. So yeah, it's hard to know what that'll look like.
I know, I was thinking about it myself. I'm trying to figure that out, but I was actually talking to my husband about it, and ultimately, I think we kind of came to the conclusion that you'd almost see basically different factions that broke off and were warring against one another. So you might see a situation where you'd see the states maybe versus the federal government. You would see maybe instances where you'd have patriots versus communists. You would definitely see, I think, the poor versus the rich. I think that is going to be one of the first things that we see.
Yeah.
And you would just have all of these different groups kind of going at each other. And the thing that I've thought about is it would be extremely difficult to determine who is friend or foe in that situation. It's not like anybody's going to be wearing uniforms or would be easily identifiable. So it's going to be outright chaos if we devolve to that point. And I feel like we would almost have to be hoping for a catalyst of an outside force invasion to unite us all against a common enemy again at that
Right.
point.
Exactly. And I've been saying for a while, I don't think we're ever going to get invaded by a foreign nation, because they're just going to watch us
Right.
destroy ourselves. I mean, why go
Exactly.
in and waste resources and get bogged down in supply lines trying to invade us, when we're going to do it to ourselves? But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I agree. I think you can see elements of the government itself fighting each other. Um, I, I
We see
think
that now almost, I feel
you
like,
do, you
I mean,
do, you do. And so, at what point do they take up? At what point would the army get involved and take a side?
mhm,
A group of generals get together and decide to try to take power, or they've had enough, and it could be something that we just totally don't see. Just something out of left field happens that
yeah.
we just don't see it, like a black swan type thing, but that we're not expecting. But um, yeah, it could be. And what I was thinking too, when you were talking about making your point about the poor going against the rich,
Yes.
I think even if you're perceived as rich, you would be a target really quickly. I have people come up to me when I'm pumping gas and ask for money a lot of times, and I'm like, you must mistake me for having money,
Right?
because I'm dressed for work, so but I don't dress like that. This is my work clothes, man.
Yes.
Um, so it could be a mess.
I agree. I do worry about that myself in our neighborhood because, I mean, we're not in a high end neighborhood, but we're not in a lower neighborhood either. We're definitely somewhere in the middle. And so you realize that at some point, if it got that bad, they would definitely target the really wealthy areas, but then eventually they would migrate this direction too.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
something to definitely keep in the back of our minds, I feel like.
They're not just going to stay in the city.
No.
They're going to come out.
Yeah, for sure. So do you think that there are any other factors at play that we're seeing with this decline in our nation? So, like, for example, do you see any kind of larger entities that are kind of in the back room, kind of pushing us toward this decline?
I do. I think somebody's behind the curtain. There's a group, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's an individual. I think it could be a group, small group. Who that? Who? I, I truly don't know. I know a lot of people have theories on that, but it could be a group or even a person that we just haven't seen or don't know about. Um, it could be that, but I do think there is a concerted effort. Um, there's a plan. There's a game plan. There's uh, by a group that or groups that, and it's global. It's not just one nation. It's a coordinated effort to bring us uh, into like a reset type thing, and they're trying. They're going to try everything. So to do that now, whether they'll succeed, don't know. But um, sometimes I feel like that we're all just lab rats, and they're playing with us to see how we react to things and see how much we will take before speaking up or pushing back. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, one of the big things, as far as just United States, I think, and this started a while back, is that we've we 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 used to manufacture so much ourselves. I mean, there's no reason. This is one of the most frustrating things for me is that with all the resources we have, why, as a country like the United States, have to rely? There's no reason we should have to rely so much on outside nations to supply us medications and just critical things to keep things going. Power, electricity, electronics. I mean, what in the world? I mean, and I know that started happening a while back, but it's like we've been sold out, a long time ago, and we don't make things here anymore. And I think that's coming back to bite us big time, as well as other countries have done the same thing. But if we can't if we can't find a way to be more resourceful and make more things ourselves and be more self-sufficient, like as a country, that's another big factor as far as a decline, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. What do you think, Prepper Now? Did you hear the question, or
I
do
didn't hear the question. I thought the lab rat analogy was excellent, but what's the question?
The question was, do you think that there are other factors at play? So, for example, do you see a larger entity pushing us toward this decline?
Yeah, there is a concerted effort to make us, own nothing and like it, for, lack of a better way of putting it. I think there's just about 1,000 people out there, super rich, masterclass, old jerk faces, who literally just want to own everything and want to turn us into a Soviet style where 5% of the party and the other 95% are sitting in breadlines. And they're really just that arrogant and that, selfish that they don't just want everything. They want, I mean, everything, like your soul too,
Yes.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made this analogy before. I just think they look at people like us, like I go down and I look at my chickens,
Mm-hmm.
produce eggs. That's it. I'll give you enough to get by and all that. But actually, we love our chickens. I don't see them the way I think these people see us. But
Right.
you get the point. I just see they see us as like animals, chattel, and they're going to do whatever they can to kind of keep the ball rolling and like you said, get away with as much as possible and see what they can do. I thought that was excellent too. If they if people are just go along to get along anymore, we're gonna have problems. But the good news is, and I really do see this, I think people, it's gotten bad enough for a lot of people. They're like, wait a second, this is ridiculous. This is not the country I remember. This is not the things I remember. I'm going to start to kind of figure this out. And that's why I think like the prepper community is growing. I get, a lot of people, most of the people that contact me said, I just started in 2021. I was just starting to, worry about things. And I started watching some channels and I started to put some food away, and then all of a sudden the prices started going up. And I thought, what the heck? I might as well keep going. So there's a lot of people out there that are doing it. You don't got to have a bunker or an MRAP in your driveway or anything like that, but just a little self-sustaining and some, self-reliance on what is going on. The funny thing is that being a prepper, there's a lot of like environmentalism stuff about it. We use everything on our little 1 acre farmette, like my wife had a little moldy bread that we found that's, in leaner days, I'd probably be like, just pick it off and eat it. But that's going to go down to the chickens. Everything we do goes and goes to like this. We're trying to like cycle it through. My wife's a very big environmental person. I call her conserva hippie. So she's just, that's the way we are. And that's the way it used to be. Prepping and like farming and all that kind of stuff. Those are the ways that got America to where it was. We live right between two different farms, and there's corn growing, and they just did wheat. And I've met the families, and they're just they're simple people, and they just want to live their lives and grow their food and just be left alone. And now there are a lot of things that are coming down on people, and people are noticing that they're not able to just be left alone.
Yes.
And so it's gonna get worse. And I think what was said about the testing us and seeing how much we'll take, I think that's going to keep going on. Death by 1,000 cuts, and we just need to keep talking about it and keep people knowing that there are a set of people out there who really think that they are a set above, and they're going to do whatever they can to take away from our children. For me, it's my children. That's why I'm here. I have to do whatever I can to position them as good as possible. And, like seeing the manufacturing thing, that was a great point as well. We used to manufacture everything. I mean, the American made was the gold standard, and it's not that way anymore. And there's a lot of problems. And we have a smart country. There's a lot of smart, strong, able, willing people, and they're just trying to minimize that to where, people are lazy and putting their hand out for the government dole.
Exactly.
I agree. Yep.
I agree.
Yep. So for me, I believe that everything kind of ties into this global agenda, everything that we see. And I still remember, I don't know if you guys all remember this, but when Mike Pompeo told us in 2020 that we were in a live exercise, I feel like in many ways, we've never really left that live exercise. So they're just continuing to make these power grabs. And every time they do, we lose a little bit more of our rights and a little bit more of our freedoms. And I feel like we're going to continue to see this relentless attack and this opposition. And they're just going to quietly shuffle it to the back of the deck. And then somehow those same cards are going to reemerge again on the top of the deck to be played in a new hand. And they're just going to keep pushing at us with the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, all these different ones. And the biggest concern that I have is that if they get us off of this current system that we have and they implement a CBDC, that's when we're really going to see all hell break loose, because we will lose every ounce of our rights at that point, and they will have us exactly where they want us. So
I agree. That would be a turning point for sure. Yeah.
Well, think about like martial law. Like they can't go and do that, but they can turn off your money.
Right.
So if they can do that, then in a way that is like a digital martial law.
Mm-hmm.
So, more credence to growing your own food and prepping. So, I think every time they change, someone said this, they said every time they have to go back and go back to the drawing board and try new things means that something they were doing didn't work, and we won that one. Right. And we have to remember that. And we are in a live exercise. I didn't talk about any of this stuff. I didn't even go into YouTube until 2020. I really didn't. I was just, I'm very much a Luddite as it pertains to technology. and just kind of was like, I'd go and watch like, videos in the classroom and stuff like that, but I didn't have any channels that I followed or anything. And now, here we are 2 years later, and I look back to that time and when everything was kind of evolving and it was starting to become understood that there's a lot more going on than just a simple sickness. Um, that's when I started to say, wait a second, okay. Because I remember, 10 years ago, I'd be listening to like Coast to Coast AM and George Norrie or whoever it was be talking about something. I'd be like, all right, yeah, that's fun to listen to at 12:47 as I'm driving down the road. But no way, like that's not happening. Now I'm like, holy Lord, they were right. Like, there was a lot of things they're talking about that was not crazy. Like there's some validity to them. So it's interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah. So ultimately, where do you guys see the country headed? We're just going to ask that general question and get it out there.
I think we're at a crossroads. I see two ways. I see either people just get fed up and they basically alienate, isolate, and just do not comply with all the dictates of what comes down from on high in DC. And I give that a 50-50 shot to, if that doesn't happen, a balkanization of sorts, where the southeastern states will just be like, you know what, you know where to go and how to get there. This is our Fort Sumter moment. We're not doing this anymore. We're done. And you guys can just figure it out. We'll figure out the things like the military bases and such after, but as it pertains, all of our tax money are going away, and you guys can just sit up there and stew. Put up all the fancy fencing you want, but no boys from Texas to Georgia up to North Carolina, wherever, coming down to help y'all anymore, because we're done.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think a lot of it hinges. I think we are at a crossroads. I agree there. I think it's very important as far as the next election or two, the cycle we're in right now with 2022, to see what happens there, and then maybe even more important is 24. Will that pendulum swing back? And stabilize things. If it doesn't, then I think we would, if it does, if things do swing back and you have some type of normalization to some degree, then we would just putter along for a while longer, like kind of like we are. But if not, I think the scenario Prepper now just laid out was very, very possible, to where you see some balkanization going on, and people are just going to say no, and you divide that way, and you become states, or just territories at that point, and it just kind of falls apart, or kind of like the break, like you said earlier, the breakup of the Soviet Union. It becomes something similar to that. But
yeah,
yep,
interesting.
So, do you guys think that there's anything that we can do about it at this point?
Local, and keep prepping. Get to know your local people around here. I'm in Central Maryland. We're in the part of Maryland that already said, it was ceremonial, but said basically, if you guys, 60 miles to the east, keep doing what you're doing, we're going to join West Virginia. And, there's a large portion of here, same thing with Western Virginia State, like Roanoke and stuff like that. They've said the same thing. And, West Virginia's like, come on. And I think a lot of it's just kind of for political points and stuff. But I do think that could happen. I mean, there's secession movements that are happening in the background. They're, again, they're kind of more ceremonial, but there's a lot, like there's a huge, California used to be the most Republican state in the union. It's the state of Reagan and Nixon. And now, of course, it's a mess, but there are portions of California that would leave that state in a heartbeat. And there's even people that said it's too big. We should make it like 4 states and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't see, I think some people get glorified and they're thinking violence or CW or something like that. I don't see anything like that, because that takes motivation. This is the 21st century and people are lazy. I just hate to say
I agree.
I hate to say it, but it is what it is. If people are going to talk tough, they're going to be hardcore on the internet. But fact is, when it comes down to it, they're going to watch TikTok instead of, you'll get your butt heads and stuff like that. But What I see happening, if it does go any way where it is, takes a violent, where people do think that their vote doesn't count, something more on line of like Northern Ireland in the 1980s when they were fighting back against the British, where it was kind of like car bombs and stuff like that, and political hits. But even that takes motivation and planning and cunning, and I don't think people are going to do that. I think what will happen is that just basically people will start to just kind of disengage from it. When I was talking to what's his call it, Hudson Valley Preparedness, or Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival, it's called Secessio Plebis, and basically what happens is the average people just disengage and they say, you know what, you rich folk can do you. Go make your bread. Go do all your things. We're gonna go out to the country and we're just gonna do our things and kind of live on our own and let you all fend for us for yourselves, and we're gonna kind of regroup and fend for ourselves. I could see things like that where it just people are just kind of disengaged and they're not going to go about it. Because think about like all this, think about how big the world is and all these plans they want to do where you're swiping in and swiping out. That's not going to happen in, rural Texas. It's just not. It's not going to happen in rural Georgia. It's not going to happen in rural Colorado, or rural Maryland. There's many Trump flags flowing in the wind here as there are any one of those places. There's just certain areas where they got it. But what I see is this: if 2022 gets any kind of like chicanery with the elections and stuff, what I see happening is in 2024, you're gonna have people out there doing 1,000-yard stare right by the voting thing, saying, "If y'all pull anything, we're gonna start to get." I think that is a critical point. I think people are really tired of not having their voice and the institutions being ruined. And I could see not a lot, but enough people scaring the HE double hockey sticks out of people if they're perpetuating that stuff in places like Philadelphia.
Yeah, I agree. I think the election is 2022 or 22 and 24 are huge. But as far as what we can do individually, what is anything we can do about it? I think is I think we have to realize that there's some things we can control and things we can't control. We cannot do anything about how corrupt DC is, or the big decisions. We just can't. But we can do something about local. We can do something about what our families is doing and how we're preparing, and how we treat other people. Especially locally. And forming some local bonds. So I think that's where we need to concentrate is to keep preparing and keep trying to be self-sufficient as we can, and not stress, not let the stress of the world that we can't control take us down and just wear us out and weaken us, and take out our immune system. We can't let that happen, and we have to keep praying and keep God in it. Keep following.
That was one of the things I was going to add is just, making sure that we have some sort of a prayer life established, because that's going to be one of the biggest things that helps sustain us through any kind of intense crisis that we're going through. And I feel like the spiritual and the mental aspect go hand in hand, because the Word of God gives us that peace that we need and that mental stability. So, taking control over that spirit of fear is one of the biggest ones, because if we don't get a hold of ourselves in a crisis and we fall to pieces, then we're not going to be any use to ourselves or to anyone else. So,
yep, true.
I agree. I mean, he's got to be the rock. You got to, I mean, I'll get mad and everything, and then, I think they want people to get mad. I think they want people to react. And if you're not spiritually fit, you may do that, and that's not going to help anyone or anything. So you have to have that spiritual base. I'm kind of newer to the faith. I'm reading. I'm doing this thing. It's called iBible, and it basically you finish the Bible in a year. And you just kind of start, and every day it's got a thing, and you do it, and you move on to the next day, and you kind of reminisce on it, and it's a prayer and stuff like that. And it's been cool. It's been good. My family has definitely gotten much more faith based, and like my kids, we switched them out of public and put them into a Christian school, and they'll never go back. And so, because I want my kids to have that, and it's really been taken out of the society, I think by design. And
Mhm.
so it is important as parents, or as any family person, to really make sure that it is still there, and that we are finding our faith. And nobody's perfect, and I don't know, I always feel like I fall short, but
I think we
um,
all do, though.
I
I mean,
think
I
everybody.
feel
That's
like
the thing,
that on a
exactly.
personal level as well.
I
And
agree.
I
that's
do.
one of the things I always add in my videos is that none of us are perfect. I don't care who you are, you're not perfect.
True.
I agree. And yeah,
So true.
I hate that feeling too. But it is. It's a human condition. It is what it is. So all you can do is just keep moving forward and trying to keep doing God's will and all that, and just take it one day at a time. I'm a product of Alcoholics Anonymous, so 15 years of sobriety there. It started being on the path, and now I'm basically just transferring it over into more of a Christian form of it. But there's a lot to learn, and a lot to be done, and again, one day at a time.
That's right. Exactly. So that was kind of it, guys. That's all the questions I had. Did anybody in chat have any questions for Prepper Dog or Prepper Now that you guys wanted to go ahead and drop in there? Please put it in all caps so I can see it if you do. I'm gonna give you a minute to go ahead and do that, because I know that we're a little bit ahead of you. Let's see. Do you guys see anything? I don't see anything popping up.
I'm pulling up the chat right now on my phone. It was definitely me. I had my other browser open with you guys on, so
It's hard to
the
remember all
echo.
of those moving parts. I'm telling
It
you.
Oh
is.
no. No. I will give a shout out though to Jason in VA. I had your kale tonight and your squash tonight, brother. It was tasty. Thanks, man. Oh man, you want to talk about a gardener? He has got a garden, and he's got a homestead, but it's not humongous, but it's not small. But he takes what he's got, and he does a lot of really cool things with it. But his garden is something to be marveled at, and he gave me a bunch of food to take home, and we had a lot of that for dinner tonight. And I had sautéed kale and squash, all from his garden, and
Sounds awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, this community's fantastic. I never knew. We all got shoved into our little corners online, and we had to figure things out. I decided to turn on a video camera on March 27th of 2020 and start talking to a bunch of people I didn't know, because I thought I was a pretty good prepper, and then came to find out that I was okay, but I could add a little bit more value in my thoughts and sentiments on the world, and where hopefully things are going, or not hopefully going, with the tea leaves. So here we
Mhm.
are. But I meet people all the time. I see. Let's see. Okay, that's Sassy Gal. Um, yeah, the people in this community are great, because preppers are people don't prep because they're selfish. I think that's a real misnomer.
Yes.
People prep
Yes, very much.
because they're thinking of their family. Like we put away food because in the back of my mind I'm like, well, my brother and my parents are 3 hours away, and if something nasty were to happen, I'm gonna have to have a little something set beside for them too. So why not get a little extra?
Hmm.
So all that kind of stuff. It's just the mentality of prepping is awesome. It really is, because it's honestly, it's something that's been done since forever, but also
Right.
it's something that is taking care of your family. And it's like an insurance plan. So
Yep. A lot of people mistake us for hoarding, to where we're not.
no, I mean,
A lot of people think that, and it's the opposite, really.
well, I mean, think about it. Like if we're getting stuff, I'm going through peanut butter that I got in like spring of 2020 right now. You know, like, is that hoarding? No, that's me
Yep.
going, ooh, it's, $2.80. I bet if I were to go to Aldi right now, that same peanut butter would be about $4.50.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, like, I'm not hoarding, I'm inflation fighting.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
So Michael Hensel has a question. He says, "Do you feel like God has a judgment on this country?"
yes, yeah, I do. I think I think a lot of the people that are in control are well, first of all, not godly or Christ-like, but at the same time, they're not. Uh, I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, I think their intentions are evil. I really do. I think that they're manipulating things to their own benefit and to the benefit of a small group. And I think, as if the what I've read in the Bible and heard and understand about Christianity, there is a judgment about God, and he'll definitely strike down those that are doing those kind of things.
I tend to agree. I really do. I think um, the people that are in control, maybe not every one of them, but I think there is a lot of demonic deception going on, and I believe
Hmm.
it's evil. I believe they are being used for that, and they're deceived. There's a lot of deceived out there, and they're in power, and they have a lot of power. And I think God's going to take care of that in His time.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. I agree with both of you on that. I do see one other question, or yeah, best advice for people that are now seeing what is happening. That's a good question.
Mm. Well, I would say if if you haven't been preparing, it's you know go ahead and start. I mean, it's never too late to start. You can go ahead and start. It doesn't take that much. I mean, even if it means grabbing a couple of extra canned goods. Go to Aldi. I think Aldi still has canned goods at under $1. Or so it doesn't. It accumulates quickly. So think about the basics. Your water, rice, canned goods, and just grab a few extra, especially if you're under a budget like most of us are. It's not like a lot of us can go out there and just drop hundreds of dollars and getting all this stuff. So just think about your family, and the best way you can start, just putting back some things, just the basics.
I agree. By the way, if you're new to prepping and you're not hitting up Aldi, you need to look that up.
I wish we had one. We don't have one here.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. I like spot them out. Aldi and Trader Joe's are like my two. Trader Joe's is the higher end stuff, but there's not one around us, so we have to wait for specific. But Aldi is fantastic because they just, I don't know, it's a great way to start. But
Yep.
yeah. Oh. Lost my earbud.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, gravity. Yeah, I lost my thought too. So
It
Yeah,
happens.
Aldi. I
Yeah.
love Aldi, and yeah, that's my go-to right there.
Mhm.
I mean,
I think we really need to focus on water too. I feel like that's really important. And I think we kind of touch on it, but we don't really go into it. So, for anybody who's new to prepping, please focus on water because you can only live 3 days without it. So, it is very critical that you not only stock up on water because you can only store so much. You need to have your different water purification systems, filtrations, all that sort of thing. And you really need to think about scouting out a permanent source in your area that you could then filter out. I think that is critical that you do that. So I would just tell you guys to focus on water.
Oh, I got
filtration.
my yes. Get a Berkey, get an Agua Pure, or even a Sawyer Mini, something like that. But I got my thought back. It was on the psychological tip about best advice for people that are now seeing what is happening. Don't talk down to people. This is the educator in me. Okay, I have to take people through the course of learning, and one of the first things they teach you is not to talk down to people, not to treat people like they're stupid, and to people that are kind of awakening to the fact that all is not well, the best thing you can do is just be supportive and give them advice and give them ideas and be positive and just encouraging. And like this right here, saying, hey, we need to focus on water, and Aldi's great. Just give good advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there are more and more people that are saying, wait a second, I might want to put some stuff away. Guide them, tell them about it. Hey, I saw a deal in Costco on boxes of pasta. You might want to check that out. Or Aldi has got, great, like we use a lot of their peas and carrots. Other things too, like when you're doing veggies, green beans in a can don't have the caloric level that cans of peas do. I think peas have like 3 times as much, just as healthy. Um, think about calorically. That was something that when I was putting together
Mm-hmm.
our pantry was, things might taste good, but if they're lower in calories, you can get a lot more bang for your buck by doing things like that, like yams, sweet potatoes, peas, carrots. Honey is fantastic. It lasts forever. It's an antiseptic. You can put it on burns, things like that. Good local, or like organic honey is fantastic, and it does so much stuff. And you can put a little, squirt of it on top of a stir fry that you're making with your bunker rice and your bunker cans of veggies, and you've got a good meal there. So, yeah, just be encouraging. There are people that are coming around right now, and just let them say, look, I see it too, and why don't we work together? That's all. That's what Jason in Virginia invited me down, and it's not easy for me to get away. I got my kids. I went down. He made lunch for us. He gave me food to take away. His wife was awesome. I met their daughter, and just a very nice, loving, like open arms. Come on in. Let's hang out kind of feel. Like that's what I think the prepping community needs to embrace. We don't want to look down on people's nose, and for people that are newer, you got to do what you can to kind of guide them along and just be supportive and positive. That's the main thing.
Yes, I agree. And I think one of the other things that I kind of thought of when we were sitting here talking about this is store what you eat. I think that's another big misconception, that you need to just store all these other things that people have mentioned. But if you don't like, say, spam, we'll bring that one up because Angry Prepper, then don't stock it. And for our family, we don't eat a lot of rice, but we do eat a lot of pasta. So I've put a lot of focus and effort and energy into stocking extra pasta for our family. So, I mean, definitely store what you eat.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Somebody has a question on here. How often should I refresh the water from my tap I've been putting into jugs? That's a good question.
I heard a year to 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of people do, I used to actually store water that way when I was kind of starting out. I would take 1 drop of chlorine and put it into the water, and supposedly that makes it last a little bit long. I don't know if that's just someone told me something and I believed it, or
Right.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of different things, and I think some of it has to do with your area too, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
so like if you were to live in a more humid climate, then that water could potentially become contaminated faster with algae or something. Whereas if you're in a drier environment like we are out here, then maybe you might have a little bit more leeway, more play. I mean, that's just something that.
Well, also like where you store it, like
Yeah, I was
looking
going to
at,
say where you store
Yeah,
it.
if it's in light, then it's definitely going to be a bad idea.
yeah,
In a
like
cool
judging
place.
by what I'm seeing on the screen, PBF, you're down in the basement, right?
Where I'm at
Is
right
it-
now, no, I'm actually in my study. So I'm in my study. I just took over the study with a bunch of preps. We took over half
Oh,
the
that's
room.
cool.
Yeah, I used to have a treadmill in here, and I was like, nobody's using this. So I kicked it out, and we got rid of that. I think we got rid of it last year, actually, last summer during the garage sales that we were having around here. And then we just went to town storing a bunch more stuff in here. So I've got stuff kind of spread all over our house. We do have stuff in the basement as well. But as many know, we do share a home with my parents. So a lot of that area down there is their part of the home. So there's a small storage space where we keep things and preps and that sort of stuff. But we definitely had to get a little bit more creative and inventive and try to find other areas where we could store some items. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, our stuff is in a basement, primarily. So,
Mm-hmm.
another thing I would say is, try new stuff. We've got chickens. We've never done them before. They're going fantastic. And here this week, I'm going to start to glass eggs. I've never done that before. There's an element of fear with it, but my
Healthy fear.
yeah, I mean, my chickens are pumping out 5 to 7 eggs a day. I might as well try and learn how to store them, because in the winter they don't do it. So, try to become creative, and don't be afraid to mess up and trial by error.
That's how we learn.
That's how you learn.
Exactly. All right, guys. So I think we are way over time. So we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. I did have a couple of scriptures that I wanted to close with on here, just to share with you guys, just certain ones that have jumped out at me lately. One of the ones is Isaiah 60, verse 2. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and deep darkness the people, but the Lord will arise over you, and his glory will be seen upon you. So that is one that stuck out to me. And what was interesting is somebody in the chat actually had been mentioning this one, and it was another one that I had to share with you guys. So Ephesians 6, verses 12 through 13. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand.
That's a good one.
It is a good one.
Amen.
Amen. Someone sent me, I haven't read it yet, but there's a guy that I talked to. He said Proverbs 24:28. I don't know if that's, I'm not sure if I got the numbers right. I'm wondering if you might want to pop that up. That's from my man, Just Me. I think it's Proverbs 24:28 or 24:27, if I remember correctly.
Let's see if I can find it real fast.
Yeah, I've been getting caught up. I've been so behind, and also I got some switches in the life coming. I'm actually changing where I do my thing. So some changes on the horizon. I've been going through that for the last couple of weeks. I've been kind of behind, but yeah, I'm not sure. He sent it to me, and he just said read it. He didn't include it, and I was going through stuff, and I kind of glossed over it, and it's been in the back of my head.
Is that the one? Does that sound right? Do you
know? I mean, it might be, but that's probably not. I would be, I think, a little more specific. I thought it was 24:28, but it might have been 24:27, or I don't know. You don't got to go Bible hunting. So,
go Bible digging.
That it's bad. Yeah.
It's right at the fingertips, so
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the wonderful thing about the internet.
I use iBible. It's great. It comes right into my email, and I pop it on, and I listen, and just takes a little moment, and there's an ends of the prayer, and it's really, if another sub turned me onto that one. His name's Frank, and so he did about 2 weeks ago, and I just started listening, and it's great because it just comes right to you. There's no excuses. You click on it, it's read to you, and you can kind of sit there and reminisce on it or think about it, and then it ends with a prayer. It's just, I don't know, I kind of start my day that way. I love it.
The Bible app too is good.
Yes,
gives you a daily verse. It'll talk about it, give you a little background on it.
I think I'm gonna have to check into that myself. So maybe you'll turn me onto it too, Prepper Now.
He just sent me the link, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll check it out. And now it's it's part of my morning routine.
I love it.
So.
All right, everyone. I think I have kept you all on here long enough. I thank you, gentlemen, for your time tonight. I have really enjoyed having you on here, and I'm sure we've all really enjoyed this conversation. I think it was a really great conversation. we definitely covered a lot of topics. So I appreciate all of you in the chat that have joined us tonight. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us. And yeah, thanks everybody.
Enjoyed
Have a
it.
wonderful weekend. And
great
we will
weekend.
see you again next time.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on. It was great talking to you both.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.